YouTube's campaign against ad block. YouTube confirmed that its ad block blocking small experiment that began in May has gone global and so far seems to be successful. Adblock developers reported spikes in uninstallations with hundreds of thousands of users apparently removing extensions in October.
Wow.
According to stats from ad blocking company Ghostery, 90% of recent users who gave a reason for uninstalling the ad blocker cited YouTube's recent policy change. There has also been a spike in installations, though, as users search for an ad blocker that YouTube cannot detect. But Ghostery says that they lost users overall. Interestingly, the expanded crackdown seemingly began right after the end of the Ad Filtering Dev Summit, which Google sponsored alongside ad block companies AdGuard and I/O. Members of Google's Chrome team also gave presentations at the summit about how they're making it easier for developers to create ad block extensions.
I do find it interesting that so many users are uninstalling completely.
Yeah.
And I bet you if these ad block software developers maybe, I don't know, maybe this is even a thing that they do. I genuinely wouldn't know. But maybe if they gave you a little tutorial on how to, allow list certain sites, it wouldn't be that big of a deal.
Oh, so I mean,
because I suspect a lot of these people would still want to run their ad blocker on sites that aren't YouTube.
So almost like a dark pattern, but more of like a, hey, we really do think that you probably like our service and probably still want to use our service. And maybe you should continue to use our service because we're not bad people, really, honestly, for real. But a dark pattern.
Yeah.
Is pretty much what you're pitching.
Maybe just a little bit of a suggestion, not necessarily a dark pattern. You could still make the actually, yes, I want to uninstall button be really obvious. But you could be like, hey, this is probably not honestly what you're really intending to do.
Light pattern. Sharaf 2K in Float Plane chat suggests we just call it a light pattern. Okay, sure, no problem.
Yeah.
While the idea of Google simultaneously supporting and cracking down on ad blockers is incongruous, there's our $20 word for the day. The fact is, as a Google software engineer implies, that Google wants people using Chrome and Chrome users want ad block extensions. So this is a quote from them. The company isn't killing ad blockers. We are making them safer.
Intriguing.
I wish I could share my screen with you guys because this Google security blog post actually says that.
War is
that
peace.
Is fantastic. So our discussion question here is Google being hypocritical here, or should they get to have their cake and eat it too?
I don't think they're necessarily being hypocritical.
I actually don't see a lot of the things that I had intended to talk about in our notes here.
You could support something but not allow it on a certain premises that you own.
Yeah.
Like if you owned a distillery and made alcohol.
Yeah.
And also owned a daycare. You might be like, well, we sell home brewing kits at the distillery, but we don't want you bringing alcohol to the daycare.
I was reading one of those
it's a weird analogy, but I like it.
Like listicle articles, 20, 30 things you didn't know about the Hells Angels. So take this for what it is. But
what?
Apparently they do not encourage their members to partake in substances.
Really?
Yeah.
That probably makes sense.
Yeah. Because like those substances that
they're bad.
They allegedly may or may not have some involvement in the distribution of are, if they are what they allegedly maybe could be, probably the kind of thing that would allegedly mess you up pretty good, according to a doctor.
Did you get that in your Google News?
No, why did you see the same one?
I've been getting a weird amount of Hells Angels content in my Google News. It was trying to sell me houses.
Well, you probably
I got an article that was like, there's 3 previous Hells Angels headquarters up for sale now. I'm like, what?
Well, you're getting into your mid-30s. You're white. Prime membership material right there.
Time to become a refrigerator repairman.
He doesn't ride, okay? He doesn't ride, so
no.
Sorry, guys. It's the recruitment's not gonna go with him.
Yeah. I remember when he used to work at Geek Squad, one of the guys did an in-home repair.
Yeah.
And he came back and was like, you could tell something happened.
Right.
He seemed slightly rattled, but like he had a good time as well. And he came back in and told us the story of how he showed up, and it was like, dude he called it a monster truck. I'm assuming it was just a jacked
Like a
up
lifted
truck. Yeah.
for sure.
And he had like a big boat, massive house, and all this, like clearly very wealthy. Offered him a beer when he came in the door and was like, sorry, I'm like on shift, I actually can't take this. And the guy just laughed. And as he was leaving, he was like, guess what I do for work?
Seriously?
And he's like, I like the Geek Squad guy was like, I don't know what. He's like, I fix refrigerators. It's like, sure, dude.
Sure.
He had a bunch of like biker gear and a Harley, and is like, okay, yeah, all right.
Hey Dan, can we get some more of these books, please? What books?
Yeah, I'm kind of.
Yeah, we neither of us, I think, accounted for that. We're gonna need to be a lot closer.
Yeah, I think we need like all of them
for them to actually sound any good.
He needs.
I definitely need some books. That's my whole Oh wow! Look, conveniently we have lots more books.
Yeah.
Okay, that should be better, guys. I'm going to keep an eye on these levels and try and make it not a horrible, unpleasant listening experience for y'all. Why don't we jump into our next topic? Oh wait, no, there were the things I wanted to talk about with this that we never actually did. So, what raised this for me was actually not that I saw an article on The Verge or saw Google's blog posts about it or whatever else, but I just saw people talking about it in the subreddit. And here's what I would like to know. And I realize this is going to be opening up an old wound for some people. But now that Google is doing the thing that people said they weren't doing, and therefore what I said was wrong.
So
now that Google actively prevents people from using the site and has made it very clear what their position is on ad blocking on YouTube.
I think based on most of the arguments that I heard, then as of now, you're right.
So what you're saying is that I was just ahead of my time.
I think maybe. Well, yeah. I know I agreed with you at the time, but maybe in the public eye, I don't know. I feel like the goalpost is just going to shift.
I think it's one of those things where a lot of, back to the arguments that people were making at the time, I think a lot of the arguments people were making at the time were not actually even in response to what I said, but they were in response to what people felt like I meant.
Yeah.
And felt like was a personal attack against them. And a lot of the really, because
you weren't saying like you're a bad person.
No, a lot of the most upvoted responses to my whole ad block is piracy take were addressing things I didn't say. So I'm talking about how hypocritical it is that on the one hand, I make a video about Pi-hole, and on the other hand, I say ad block is piracy. The thing is that I never said don't do it ever. I actually didn't say that. Seriously, it's worth it. Go back and actually watch the video where I didn't say, don't do it. It makes you a bad person. I never said that. What I said was it's a circumvention of the intended obvious form of compensation for the service that you are obtaining, and therefore bears a lot of similarity to the concepts of piracy, especially with respect to media intellectual property piracy, because whoever is creating it is not being compensated. And you can say, well, I don't like ads. And to which the response would be, okay, well, then don't consume it, or then buy premium. Those are your three options, right? Be ad supported, pay for it, or don't consume it, or pirate it.
Yeah.
That's your fourth option, right? And I never said don't pirate it. I said be aware of the impact. That was what I said. And I think that people didn't want to hear that. And so, I think you're right. I think that these goalposts are going to move. Upside, don't read this. I don't know how to read this username. If Linus is going to rehash this, respectfully suggest that you start reselling the privateer t-shirt on the store. So like we said, one of the biggest arguments that we saw against it was that, well, Google doesn't prevent it, therefore it's not a problem. Well, now they do. Has your stance actually changed, or
I seriously doubt it.
Yeah, I doubt it. And
I suspect some people will, but minority, absolutely.
I really don't think so. I think that at the end of the day, people have their tolerance for what kind of compensation they're willing to pay. People have content that they want to consume, and they will, they will figure out in their head how all of that makes sense to them.
It's been wild to me the whole time that someone will have like a Netflix, a Google Plus, an
Google
Xbox.
Plus, I don't think they have that.
And Google
Spotify or whatever.
Disney Plus,
Yeah.
Spotify, Xbox Live Gold or whatever it's called these days, Game Pass, and then be like, no ads, and I'm not paying for premium for YouTube. And then they'll watch YouTube more than they'll do like all the rest of the things combined.
I think part of the problem, and I think part of the reason that we see this in such a black and white manner is that you run and I pay to run a video streaming platform.
Yeah. It's expensive.
So we actually do know.
There's costs.
We really do know that no, bandwidth is not free.
Mm-hmm.
No, storage is not free. And no, operating at scale doesn't suddenly make it free or even cheap.
Yeah, certain things like storage just like they honestly don't even scale very well.
They use the same hard drives that you do. They actually do. So for every gigabyte you upload to a site like YouTube sits on a hard drive that costs exactly the same as every gigabyte that sits on a hard drive that is in your computer. In fact,
if it's getting accessed a lot, it might be sitting in RAM.
Oh, that's true, actually.
Or like there's going to be tiers of storage, right? Like,
or an SSD tier.
Like sure, that video with 4 views that was uploaded 10 years ago, maybe that is stored on hard drives. But like if you're watching a viral video right now, it's very likely stored in RAM somewhere.
So those suggesting no, the problem is not that that my mic is not working.
So someone mentioned a pickup pattern thing. I notice you have 2 knobs. Is it a pickup pattern problem?
I don't know. No, this is just my monitoring knob.
Oh.
Yeah. Sorry.
Dan's on it.
The top one, you could take that up.
Yeah, it's definitely working. All right. Yeah, I can bring it up a little bit. Or I can just kind of get closer to it. I could use one more book because I'm still hunching. All right.
But if you heard an ad halfway through a song you were listening to, would that not annoy you? Yes.
Hold on a second.
Which
Hold on a second. People are saying the tap actually didn't work. No, that's definitely working, guys. Yes, my mic works. You know what's funny is I was even joking with Luke before the show. Like I've got the big alpha mic.
Yeah,
and he's got this like
I've got
tiny
the little
dick one.
It's actually a lot smaller.
Apparently,
I've noticed,
apparently sizes and everything.
Not to get into
there we go.
Continued conversations about size being everything, but my bar on there is thicker.
It's stereo.
Oh.
Fantastic. Don't worry, guys. Dan's working on it.